the end of.
You can't see the end of the crowd on either side. I'm looking. I'm like, where does it end? Where does it start? I don't know. It's a sea of people, a sea of happy people, a sea of excited people. And so we'll talk to a few more because I know we're only about 15 minutes away from the expected time when we're supposed to see President Trump speaking in Chicago today to answer questions from various people about the concerns of Black America. And I'm really happy that he's doing this. It's so important for him to talk to people around this country about their concerns. And speaking of, we've got somebody here to talk to. Hi there.
Over here.
I like it. A president with conviction. Yes.
Love the shirts.
We gotta mock them.
Oh, yeah.
Send it back and mock them.
I like it. I like it.
Kamala has no convictions at all. People see right through it. Exactly. So first tell us your name and where are you from?
I'm Sandra Madigan. I'm from Bel Air, Maryland.
You drove up here from Maryland to see President Trump in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, because Maryland, it's useless.
You never know. You never know. With Trump on the.
I do as much as I can, but yes.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
So a state like Pennsylvania, obviously. First of all, is this your first Trump rally?
No, I think it's my third, and then I was at CPAC as well.
Okay, great. So you've seen him speak before.
Yeah.
What draws you out? What's the most exciting thing to see when you're at a Trump rally?
Honestly, it's the people that come to the rally. Everybody is so friendly. They would literally give you the shirt off the back if you liked it. You know, people handing out stickers
negotiations,
and pins
right?
and
Exactly. And
politics.
You saw that.
And we're out of time.
You saw that in Butler, Pennsylvania, when obviously the tragedy. It was tragic what happened, but no one left. Everyone stayed in there.
That was the most amazing thing. It's that people believe that God has their back. They're not going to panic. It's just there's a plan. Yeah.
They know there's a plan. They know there's divine intervention, and God is working out for not just President Trump, which he is, but also this movement, all the patriots who are here, who come out to save this country. I want to ask you, obviously, have you ever seen, we're seeing crowds this big at every Trump event, but I mean, these crowds are phenomenal. They're huge.
Yeah, my first one was at Hershey, Pennsylvania, and it was similar way back when, and that was when I got hooked. I just love being with all the like-minded people.
It's incredible. This is where you find true American patriots who want to save this country, who understand the stakes.
You know what? I can't get in. It's like, well, this is having fun. It's being around, looking at all the merchandise and all that stuff. Got their act together too. Got the food.
They know how to do these rallies.
$1 waters. It's not $7 waters, which they can normally milk you, but they're just selling it for. It's still making a little profit, but
very affordable.
Keeping everybody,
and with Bidenomics and the inflation, you need $1 waters to deal with it.
$1 waters, then you buy 5 instead of 1. So you guys do this all day, huh?
We do this all day. We're at every Trump event. We're actually doing a double header. We're going back and forth because he's speaking in Chicago before he gets here.
Oh, ChicagoRed.org.
Yes.
P. Ray.
What's that? Tell us about it.
P. Ray. She's ChicagoRed.org. Trying to turn Chicago red.
Yeah, we got
and Chicago go to ChicagoRed.org. I make shirts, and I made her one, and she got a picture with President Trump wearing it.
Amazing. That's the best.
So I made this one.
That's amazing. Fantastic. Yeah, listen, Trump talks about the freedom cities, rebuilding our cities back.
I mean,
the
things that kids are going through in Chicago, we cannot let that happen to our children.
We can't let that happen to our
children. No child should be dodging bullets going to school.
Not at all. One last question for you, because you have the conviction shirt. Tell us, what do you think about Kamala Harris and all this that's going on with her? They're really trying to prop her up.
It's funny because I have a lot of liberal friends, and the one said she regretted voting for Biden because, God forbid, Kamala would be put in charge after what had happened. So I think that speaks volumes. That so I'm not afraid of her. Yeah. I mean, you got to vote like it. You're 10 points down because of the cheating, but yeah, I don't think
we're not afraid of her. We're not afraid of her. She was always a lightweight. Yeah, all these guys, absolutely Trump all the way. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for speaking to us today. Enjoy the rally.
Great interview, and we love your shirt.
We'll see you in there cheering on President Trump a little later.
And it's funny because today there's a lot of call outs because apparently President Trump got called out for the debate. And it's just funny to me because nobody likes debating better than President Trump. He loves it. He just doesn't want to waste his time debating anybody unless they're definitely 100% the candidate. So he's already done that once before. You saw what happened there. So he's just double checking, doubling down on if we're going to do a debate, let's make sure that's the candidate, period, the end. And trust me, he'll do it. He'll be happy to. In the meantime, something else I wanted to ask a lot of our viewers about is if you ever wondered what happened to Chuck Norris. I mean, Chuck Norris, I've always loved him. And I recently saw a video that he made. And this is the thing. I was shocked because he's now in his 80s. Okay. He's in his 80s, but he is still like kicking butt. He is still doing his thing, working out. He's staying active. And what's even more shocking is that he's actually saying that he's stronger now than he was even in his 50s, which is pretty impressive. He has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids, which is so important. We know President Trump is another person like that, 78 years old, always makes time to golf, to be with his grandkids, to be with his kids, to go on the campaign trail and be with all of us. Well, Chuck Norris did what he did by just making one simple change. And he says that this is why he still feels like he's in his 50s. And his wife even started doing this one thing too. And she said she never felt younger. Her body looks leaner than ever. And she has energy all day long. So Chuck made a special video that's going to explain all of the things that we're talking about. And you want to make sure that you watch it. All you have to do is go to chuckdefense.com/Trump, chuckdefense.com/Trump. And you can click on that link below in this video. It's really easy to do, and it will change the way that you think about your own health. And again, that's chuckdefense.com/Trump. You can click on that link. And just a reminder, the legendary Chuck Norris is 81 years old. Okay, 81, but he has more energy than I do. I'll tell you that. And he discovered he could create dramatic changes to his health by focusing on 3 things that will actually sabotage our body while we age. So you can watch the method. Again, do it by going to chuckdefense.com/Trump. And you can also click on that video description below.
It's incredible product. You know, all these strong guys who are defying.
These guys are fantastic.
I
watch you all the time.
You do?
Thank you for coming here and following Trump.
What's your name?
My name is Edna.
Edna, you're a doll. Thank you.
You're a doll, Edna. Thank you
We
so
love
much.
meeting you.
Listen,
Thank
this is
you.
we love
so sweet
the support from the people. Who
Thank
come
you
out
for
and
being
watch us
here.
and support us for so many years.
Ever since you started back in 2016, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you've been around. You've been watching us. Since
This
then.
is my 6th Trump rally.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
That's
So
incredible.
You're a committed one, as he likes to say,
You
the
are a veteran.
Trumpers. The
Yeah.
Trumpers. He loves his Trumpers.
yes, always a Trumper. Okay.
We're all about making America great again. That's it, right?
That's the whole purpose, is make America great again.
Yes.
And there's never been a better president since
Never.
Trump. He has done more for this country than anybody that I know, and I was born in 1951. I'll let them do the math.
You look good, you sound good,
You look
and your
great.
energy is incredible. And we
know.
loved having you here today. And we thank you for watching RSBN.
All right.
It's so good to meet
Thank
you,
so
Edna.
much. Great
Hug
meeting
you.
you, Edna.
Woo!
You're the best. Thank
Mwah,
you.
mwah.
Thank you. Enjoy your day.
We love
That's
Edna. We
great.
love
That's
her.
amazing. Listen,
Amazing.
You have these, she was born in 1951. You're talking about
Yes.
Chuck Norris. There's so much vitality, so
So
much
much
energy
it.
on the
Yes,
side.
so much
Donald
of it.
Trump being a great golfer.
It's amazing.
I mean, we are the movement of physical specimens.
Yeah,
really.
of
Hulk
energy.
Hogan at the RNC,
Oh,
Dana
yeah.
White,
So much energy.
all the athletes support President Trump. But
That's what we
I want
want.
to also plug our other great sponsor, Birch Gold.
Oh,
our
sure.
favorites here. Recently, you probably heard about this by now. I'm sure you did. There was a massive hit to
Yep.
the U.S. dollar, Nikki,
Yep.
which came in June when Saudi Arabia did not renew its 50-year petrodollar deal with the U.S. And since 1974, the Saudis have sold oil solely in the U.S. dollars, and that was huge to our global economic dominance. But America no longer has that dominance. Now they want options other than the U.S. dollar. They see weakness from our current president, and they want options. So that is going to affect the dollar, and it will affect all Americans by extension. Look, it's reasons like this that Americans are turning to Birch Gold Group in droves. For over 20 years, our friends at Birch Gold have helped tens of thousands. That's tens of thousands, like the people here in this crowd today, of Americans protect their savings by converting an IRA or a 401k into physical gold. So to learn more, text our favorite word, TRUMP, Trump, to 989898. To learn more about Birch Gold, text Trump to 989898 and claim your free no obligation info kit on gold. That's Trump to the number 989898. Really simple. And Birch Gold has earned our trust with their education first approach and their thousands of happy customers. They are the best. Text Trump to 989898. And we love these people here.
Yes, look at everybody
right in the middle of
moving and grooving. Everybody's moving. The lines are finally starting to move a little bit. We're going to start letting people in, I believe, in about an hour or so.
So much spirit. People, are able to withstand and endure the hot temperatures. They can't do that. I don't think the Kamala side could quite do that.
No,
you have a lot of
Kamala's
the
not
transgenders and a lot of other people on that side. We don't want to be with those people. We want
everybody, actually, Paul. That's what President Trump wants.
We want patriots in control, and that's what you see here at the Trump rallies.
I mean, that's the one thing I will say. President Trump keeps saying, we're all welcome. We want all of you. He was ahead of Obama on gay marriage, in fact. I mean, so if you're gay, if you're straight, if you're white, if you're black, if you're Hispanic, Asian, or any other culture, ethnicity, background, we want all of you to be a part of the party of common sense.
That's right.
That's important
it's all about common sense. It's not right or left.
Yes.
It's not liberal, conservative. It's about common
Look at all
sense.
these fun people. They're all talking about
music.
RSBN.
It's always a party. You have the guys here. Let's get a shot once more of the Koreans for Trump with the flags, the MAGA flags, the American flags, the Trump's America again. I mean, it's incredible. It's amazing what you're seeing here.
All the nations. It's amazing.
It's about sanity. It's about common sense. It's about restoring the freedoms that made this country great in the past. And lines are moving, but
and there's always good music at a Trump rally.
The best music. Trump has the best selection in terms of the rally music that he always plays at these rallies, and they are the hits. They are the new American songbook. The Trump rally playlist is
I need this playlist.
And we all listen to it all the time. It's like nonstop. It's amazing, amazing. So President Trump, we're here in Harrisburg. Me and Nikki are here in Harrisburg. Trump is supposed to host his event starting at 1:00 Eastern time.
Yeah, we're just minutes away, right?
Minutes away
from Chicago.
Where he'll be speaking to Black journalists, the National Association of Black Journalists there in Chicago. And then once he wraps up those remarks, again, we have a double feature. He'll be flying out to Harrisburg, PA.
That's right.
To talk to the good people of the keynote state and give his amazing address here about how to make America great again. He's unstoppable. And restoring this great country. He is an unstoppable force.
The crowd is going crazy. They're seeing Trump flags. They're seeing Trump banners. We love seeing that. Hi, everybody.
We love it.
Are you guys ready for an exciting speech today?
Yes, we are. Go Trump 2024.
That's it. That's it. Everybody's here. Everybody's revved up. The patriots have spoken, right? That's what it's all about. We're all ready. It's a little hot, but you know what? We all deal with it because we're excited. I believe when President Trump finishes in Chicago, he will get right back on Trump Force One. He will make his way here, and we will have a very excited group of people inside of this arena getting ready to see him at 6 p.m. Eastern time. There'll be a program starting at 4. I just want a little program alert. I know they'll talk about this in the studio, is the fact that we have 2 different ways to watch. So you're watching now. This is technically the Chicago feed, right? We're watching that on YouTube or Rumble. And then when we go to President Trump, he does his speech. When that ends, there'll be a brand new way for you to watch the Harrisburg portion of the double feature today. And we'll have that for you starting, I believe, somewhere like around 3 o'clock.
Around 3 o'clock Eastern, we'll be going again on the grounds here.
Yes.
That will be after he does his remarks in Chicago.
Trump 24!
Look at this.
Oh, yes.
That's
okay,
amazing.
wait, I see some young patriots here. Are you guys ready for a good time today?
I am. I'm ready to see the president, the former and future president of the United States of America.
Well said. What's your name?
Michael Ryan Charles.
So good to meet you. Thanks for talking to me
got
today.
all the MAGA fight shirts, the whole family
we love
over here.
Are they homemade?
Handmade, homemade.
Handmade, homemade. I like it.
Wow.
Nicely done.
Great
Thanks,
job.
guys. Thank you, guys.
So you have the
I like the
homemade-
fight. I like the fighting spirit. Are you ready?
Yes.
Go, Brandon.
Yes.
Always
Let's
ready.
go, Brandon.
Always ready. Always ready to see President Trump. So many fun people. And you know what's so interesting, Paul? is that we're seeing every age group. I talk about this all the
Every age
time,
group.
but I love it. We're seeing little kids, we're seeing teenagers, we're seeing, people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and all the way up into their
I know.
80s.
I mean, so many young kids, even kids who aren't eligible to vote, they love
Oh,
Donald
they
Trump.
love him.
This is their president. This
Yes.
is the man they grew up with as president. And it's just great to see young people, especially
It
the
is.
kids, turning out to support their president in the great state of Pennsylvania, the state that created this country, this beautiful country, and the state that might determine the fate of this country, whether we get to live in a free country or whether we succumb to tyranny. But listen, the Trump movement is unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
The people are out in greater numbers than ever before. Honestly, the left cannot do anything remotely close to this. Just the energy,
It's
the
amazing.
excitement, the enthusiasm, the momentum,
Yes, and everybody getting along. That's the key. Like every single person that's
unity,
here.
right,
There's so
exactly.
much likeness. There's so much collective love. And you know what? If you've never supported Trump and you just started today, we welcome you. We welcome you into this movement of
my friend.
happiness and joy and fun. Seeing all these people just ready to have a good time. The music is powerful. The people are having fun. And of course, they're revved up and ready. And of course, they're also excited about the air conditioning inside, I believe. I'm sure.
Now listen,
Well, we
this
have a lot
weather
of
isn't
vendors
stopping
as well.
anyone. We got the vendors here.
Yep.
If you're here, they're serving
Food,
water, they're serving
snacks.
food.
Yes.
Everyone seems to be in pretty good shape, though. Everyone seems to be holding up. And they're excited to enter that venue. We're at the New Holland Arena. I'm sorry about that. In Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Look at all these
And,
people.
listen, we
Look
got
at
crowd-
everybody.
We got so many people here, folks. So we got people walking from all directions, but it's incredible.
Moving lines. Moving
lines.
Oops,
Trump
sorry
fans
about that.
shirts. We got the MAGA shirts, the MAGA gear, the MAGA hats.
Yes. Are you guys ready to make America great again? I think they're ready to fight for
Amazing.
Trump. I think we're ready to
RSBN,
change
yes.
things, right? We're ready to see a change, right? We are the best, right? We give you the full crowds.
I know.
So wait, tell me, you guys, is this your first rally?
This is my first rally. Yes,
I know.
You're in
Only
for a
Donald
treat, I
Trump.
promise.
Only Donald
Looking
Trump.
forward
That's
to it.
the
It's
only
gonna be
way to
awesome.
save this country. Go
it's
ahead.
gonna be awesome. I can't. This is amazing. I can't. Words are unbelievable.
Oh, well, thank you for being here. I love your spirit. I love it. Are you guys excited? Is this your first Trump rally?
Yeah, and yours first, right?
Oh, you are in for it, you guys. The music is
your first
amazing, and there's nothing like the moment when he comes out on stage and everybody cheers. It's the best. I'm so happy you're here.
Forward to it.
Thank you guys for being here today. So exciting.
So you've been to 10
Oh,
rallies.
10.
Yes. Unbelievable. And what brings you? Are you from Pennsylvania?
Yes,
Okay. Do you think Pennsylvania is going red?
I hope so. I hope so.
think so.
I know my mom was registered Republican when she was living, and the last 20 years she voted, she passed away Democrat.
Well, yeah, there you go. That's the only way they could win because of dead voters.
Well, when they cast more votes than there are registered voters, I mean, something's going on.
Something is going on for sure.
Well, we need Trump, but we hope he gets it, and I think he should have it before he runs for 28 too. I think they should give him the 4-year learning curve.
I agree with you, especially all that they did. Thank you so much, sir. You enjoyed the rally today.
It's exciting.
Trump, we need Trump.
Go Trump!
24, baby. Absolutely.
Hey, mestizos for Trump.
Trump 24, baby.
Let's go. I love it.
That's it. That's what we're here to do.
Amazing.
I always say nothing controversial about wanting to make your country great, right?
Absolutely.
And all of us should get on that train.
We got to make this country great. But on that note, we're going to probably head back to commercial.
Are we going to
now.
commercial
We're gonna
break?
toss to commercial
Okay.
break for the time being. And obviously, Nikki and I will coming back here in Harrisburg in a little while.
We're going to head over to commercial, and then we're going to give you a chance to watch President Trump in Chicago. We will be back here in Harrisburg later today. He will be speaking at 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll be back live around 3 p.m. Eastern. Check it out. Don't go anywhere. RSBN is with you all day with all the action.
I'm excited to announce my all-new mattress topper. In the times we're in, I wanted to bring you the best affordable mattress topper ever. So I took my two best technologies and combined them to make the ultimate mattress topper. And now you can get it for as low as $69.98. Queen size, only $99.98. It all starts with my famous MyPillow foam that provides you that overall full body support. Second is the individual comfort supports that give you an amazing custom sleep experience. It's like it's made specifically for you. The queen size alone has over 14,000 comfort supports. This is the perfect mattress topper to improve any bed. New bed, old bed, your guest beds. Get them for every bedroom in your house. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the all-new My Mattress Topper for as low as $69.98. Queen size, only $99.98. Don't delay. Order today.
Welcome to the Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're not like the other media outlets out there that cut and edit what other people say. In 2015, we were created by our founder, Joe Seals, to cover President Donald J. Trump's speeches and rallies, to which we continue to do to this day. We've also covered important conservative events like CPAC, TPUSA, March for Life, and many other important events and hearings around the country. We were made for people like you, everyday Americans who are tired of the mainstream media, who are tired of being lied to, manipulated, and fed an agenda. Our goal here at Right Side Broadcasting is to allow you to see the truth, giving our correspondents and commentators a wide latitude to speak their minds. You won't find anything like this in the mainstream media. Your support through your donations, locals, and supporting our advertisers allows us to continue to cover important events around the country each and every day. So, from us here at Right Side Broadcasting, thank you for supporting us and the right side of history.
You ask and we listen. We're finally bringing the most requested offer ever. Get the queen size premium MyPillow, now only $19.98. MyPillow is made with patented adjustable fill. It adjusts to your exact individual needs regardless of your sleep position. It helps keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long so you get the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. Get our 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets, only $25. Our brand new mattress topper as low as $69.98. Get our famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25 and so much more. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen size MyPillow, only $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay. Order today. From all of us here at MyPillow, thanks, America!
Here we are in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We decided to come back just for a few until President Trump gets out there and speaks in Chicago. I'm Nikki Stanzione here at RSBN, and
you're with Paul Grassi over here. I'm with Nikki, but
I'm with him.
We'll be here for a few more minutes, just talking to the people in the crowd.
Yes.
I have a friend over here who wants us to talk to. It's your first Trump rally, correct? So tell us your name and what brings you out to see President Trump today.
My name's Chad, from Pennsylvania here, about 20 minutes south of Harrisburg. I came out to the Trump rally today just to show support for him. He's always ridiculed and made out to be this bad guy where he's not. It's just a shame where America is today. From our founding fathers, this is not what they wanted.
No, you're 100% right, and I've been talking to so many people today, Chad, about how they're devastated by what's going on at the border, with inflation, with Biden and Harris. What are the key issues that are driving you out to support President Trump and your fellow Pennsylvania friends and family who are coming out here?
It's every issue that you just said. It's everything. It's just not one issue. It's the influx of immigration coming into America without it being stopped. Inflation's through the roof. You name it. We're in bad shape. I think the biggest thing that we need to do, or Trump should do, or his team should be focusing on, is trying to get the woman vote. I know a lot of people my age and women are torn about his stance on abortion, but he was in Florida talking the other day. I think he nailed it, what he said. I think we can come to a common ground on that, but I think that's one of his biggest issues that he needs to work on.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, this was an issue that's pretty much settled law now. He's letting the states decide. It's really not, and the left is really just trying to make it into an issue and misrepresent his views on abortion. No, it's settled law. Left and right agreed on this, that Roe and that it should return to the states for decades. And I think we're in a situation where it works well for everyone.
I agree.
I want to ask you about, women voters. Do you think, I mean, Kamala Harris has zero charisma. She's not a likable woman. I mean, it would be a disgrace if she ever got, I mean, it's bad enough that she's currently VP. What do you think?
I think what the Democratic Party did was the biggest threat to democracy, and they always, whatever they're saying, they're actually doing. So she never got one vote. So, like, they pushed her in there so there's someone that Obama can puppet. That's all she is. She's going to listen to the elites of the party, and she's going to do whatever they say.
You're right about that. She's a true puppet. She didn't get above single digits in the Democratic primary, if you might recall, 4 years ago. She was put in her position because of the backlash from the George Floyd riots. They wanted a DEI type candidate, so they put her in there. Listen, she's not qualified. She doesn't have the merits to be in the position. I agree with you 100% that she has no real life support. So they're going to have to try to create this narrative around her that she's this great political talent. But in reality, no one likes this woman. She never had the support. Even in California, she struggled.
Oh, I agree. Look at all the minor infractions that she threw people in jail for. Like, just do your homework. For anyone that's doubting, I'd say do your research and find out for yourself. It's not that hard. It's in front of us. You just have to find it.
Exactly. I mean, you seem like a very well-informed guy, very knowledgeable about the issues and what's going on. I like the fact that you mentioned our founding fathers, because obviously there's so much history in the state of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, the Liberty Bell, Ben Franklin, where our nation's was basically formed. This was where the seed of our country was planted, and it's so much is on the line. Our constitutional freedoms, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, and that's what's on the ballot this election.
Absolutely, and I think that's why we have such a great turnout for these events. And I think people are finally tired of, and they actually see the corruption and the witch hunt on President Trump. It's sad that we're in this state, but I think we can do it. We just have to stick together and vote for it.
Exactly. We got to stick together. We have a lot of momentum on our side. We can't feed into the mainstream narratives. President Trump has the support of the American people. What's the last word? What's your last word to our audience, if you have anything else to say?
If you're undecided on who to vote for, just do your homework. Hopefully you vote for the right person, and I believe that Donald Trump's the right person.
Do you think Pennsylvania goes red this November?
I sure hope so.
I think so. With crowds this size?
Yes. I think he needs to get into Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, inner city, and get working on that vote too.
He'll turn those out, and he will. I have absolute confidence in it. Thank you so much, my friend. You enjoy your rally today. I'm going to swing back to Nikki. Nikki, you have someone else.
I have some fun friends here right now. I'm excited about this. First of all, they're wardrobed fabulously. I love the look always. But first, let me have you introduce yourselves. Let's tell everybody who you are.
I'm Dade. I'm Ashlyn.
I'm Logan.
And they said, we want to talk on TV about President Trump, if you don't mind. And I said, I would love it. So first of all, you are so enthusiastic. I love your spirit. I want you to tell me what brought you out here today, because you asked me first and foremost, is the younger generation speaking about President Trump?
I just think that he's probably one of the best presidents we ever have. And I think you could save America for how much is happening and all the bad stuff. I think he can really help us out.
I love hearing that. And I don't disagree. And how about you?
I would like a different president, because Joe really just didn't know what he was talking about at all. He just didn't help the country out. He made our sports worse, our school academics worse. It's a whole round horrible person, and I think Trump would be a way better president.
I love hearing that you guys are so enthusiastic because it's all about your future. Every election is really about the future, right? So to know, you're excused. And so to know that somebody's out there fighting for all of us, and he has grandchildren. He wants them to have a great future. He wants them to have a great life. Everybody decided they wanted to walk in front of the camera instead of behind us, so I apologize. Listen, everybody's here to have a good time, right? But, as you think about your future, right, what are some of the things that are important to you in your life?
Like, I would like to have like a good future and like not have to like have my future kids and like future family have to go like through all of this stuff with some like president who doesn't know who he's like talking about or like anyone. I just think that Trump can like really help out the future and like tell America what's like great again and just help out.
Well said. Anything that specifically that concerns you that you want to see change?
I would 100% like to see like just the rules of everything. You know what I mean? Like I wish I could just walk out my house without being bombarded by people, being scared to even walk out their house because you think you're gonna get shot or something because people are just like trying to fight for their lives now at this point. Because I mean, Joe's doing nothing. And I think Trump would actually help us out better to, save shit. Even he said he would help Ukraine and Russia. He would stop them in a heartbeat. He wouldn't make them fight anymore. He wouldn't send them over weapons or anything. He would just stop it right there and then. And I think that's who we need. We need to stop fighting. We just need to be like human beings and talk shit out.
Well said. And it really comes down to not just American safety, but world peace, which he can bring to us. Thank you both so much for talking to me. I loved meeting you. You're adorable. You guys are great. Thank you for everything. I hope you have the best time today. I know you will. That's just the best. I love hearing from our younger generation, and even though they're not even at voting age yet, it was important for them to get out here and hear what President Trump has to say and just spread the message among people in their own family circle and friend circle.
Exactly. I mean, you have to. It's easy to forget, but President Trump has been part of our politics for almost a decade now.
That's right.
When he wins another term, he'll be in office for like how long? 3 terms. He'll be part of our public life for a long time.
We're so grateful.
Basically, as long as like FDR was in national politics, longer than that even. So he truly has such an impact on all Americans and young voters. Don't worry about it. Young voters, this is all they know. They grew up with President Trump. They know him so well. And he's their president.
That's a great point.
Right?
That's a good point.
That's what the point I'm kind of trying to make over here.
I like that. Yeah, because 2016, for these 10-year-olds,
I know.
They were little babies when he got in office.
Exactly. The first memory was him going down that escalator ride, golden escalator at Trump Tower. But it's so amazing to see young people. You have old people. You have people of every age group, every demographic, Hispanics, just regular, normal, working class voters here to support their next president. And I'm telling you, Nikki,
the real world.
This is any indication of how Pennsylvania feels about President Trump. Wow. I'm pretty confident that this state is going red.
I couldn't agree with you more. And one of the things I want to say to bounce off of that is that, a lot of these people were in Butler. A lot of these people know people that were in Butler. Being there, I can honestly say there was a fear at the end of that of, is this it? Will we have more rallies? And if he does have more rallies, will people come out and support or will they be afraid? And you know what? He basically gave us the permission to not be afraid when he stood up and just defied fear and told us to fight. And that was his way of saying, I'm okay and you're going to be okay. And I got you. And it was like this sense of relief and this sense of, like we have a real leader. And listen, no matter what your politics have been in the past, that's the kind of person you want fighting for your country. That's the kind of person you want leading your country. And I feel like this is a testament to what he did that day by bringing that fearless spirit. He now brought all of us back to this feeling of let's get together and celebrate what can be.
He didn't miss a beat. He got up right off the ground immediately, put his fist right up in the air, and he obviously continued with these rallies, and they're stronger than ever. The momentum cannot be stopped. He spoke, just a few days later at the RNC. He's resumed rallies right away.
Immediately.
And he's going to be doing outdoor rallies from what I heard, at least.
At some point.
Again, in the future. So, listen, and the American people, it's just, they see him as the example, as the leader, and they come out, they're fearless as well. The Trump supporting base, they're fearless. because they know what is at stake, and it's all about love. It's all about love.
I love these
President
guys.
Trump.
Speaking of love, hey guys, how are you today? I love you. I saw you dancing. I saw. Don't think you didn't. I saw you. It was good stuff. So, what's your name?
I'm Brian.
Hi, Brian.
My name's Trilly.
Hi, guys. I'm Nikki. Nice to meet you. I'm with Paul, and we're with RSBN, and we are here to show the crowds and show everybody that we come together in unity to celebrate making our country great again.
Right, that's right. It's the only place. This is the best place right now to go see the best person in the world at the moment.
So, is this your first rally?
This is our second rally. Our first one was when he came here in 2017, I believe, and it was amazing. It was amazing. It was experience.
It's. I always try to tell people it's like an experience that you would never expect because there's so much love and there's so much happiness. Everybody just is happy, right?
Yeah, why not?
And why not? That's what we want to see in our country. So what are some of the issues that are really important to you? Because right now we're seeing a lot of divisiveness across the alley, if you will. All of a sudden, Kamala Harris now installed as the nominee, but nobody actually voted for her, which is the real threat to democracy, I think. Right? So how do you feel about what you've been seeing lately on TV?
I feel as though it's like it's a ploy. Don't get me wrong. It's always a last minute decision every time we go into voting and getting into the last countdown. Especially with Donald Trump being our main nominee, it definitely is going to be pretty hard, being as though that they're now doing the stuff that they should have been in the past 4 years at the last moment.
You said it. Well, and here we are supporting President Trump. And is there one in particular thing that because he watches RSBN all the time, if he's watching, anything specific that you'd like to say to him?
I appreciate everything you do for us. You're an admirable person. Pennsylvania loves you, and we're here with all the love.
Thank you, guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you. I'm going to watch for the moves. Thank you. I love seeing such a happy patriot.
I'm going to really quickly
please.
with my friend over here. You said it's your second Trump rally. Tell us your name, sir, and where you're from.
Robert Brenneman from Chambersburg. This is actually my third rally I've been to.
So what most excites you about seeing President Trump?
His policies overall. We lived good while he was in office, and we had everything we needed, and gas, everything. Now we're in a situation where we don't know if we're going to make it one day to the next. So, with that being said, we can't get back to the old way. If she gets elected, it's going to be the same thing as we just went through,
The same thing, even worse in many ways, with the weaponized Justice Department. They're destroying our First Amendment, our Second Amendment, the economy with inflation, the border. Yeah, you said it. You're 100% right.
We lose it all.
I want to ask you about your shirt, the Fight, Fight, Fight shirt. Beautiful shirt. We love it. We've seen so many of these here in Harrisburg. What do you think the moment he got up and started saying fight, fight, fight?
I thought, what a man. I thought, number one, I thought this. God protected him. That was a blessing in disguise, that when he jumped up, just seeing him jumping up like that, it was amazing. Yes, it was.
Miracle. It was a miracle that was played out in real time. And God is protecting him. God watches over all of us.
Continue to do that. Yeah.
You enjoy your day today. It was a pleasure meeting you, and you take care and everything that's going on. It's amazing. People know that the movement, God is looking out for President Trump. God is watching this country, and God is watching out for every American who supports President Trump and who's backing him and protecting them in their own way with their support and, just coming out in record numbers. It's incredible. Any other people, Americans could have shied away, gone back into their houses. No, they came out, and they're coming out and by the thousands. Trump supporters are not afraid to come out to these rallies because they know, obviously, not only the stakes of this election cycle, but they know they're in safe hands when they are with President Trump and at a Trump rally. And the Trump rally still remains the safest place to be in terms of politics, in terms of any event you could go to. But, these people are amazing.
Amazing
Speaking
people.
to the American patriots who support President Trump,
Yep.
just regular Americans, it's one of the best parts of these experiences, Nikki.
That's
it
it.
truly is.
I love looking at that huge American flag. It's
So
a
much to take
patriotic
in.
experience.
It really is.
The music is great though. Everybody's enjoying it. It's like a concert festival experience going to a Trump rally. And I remember back in the day when I used to hear him talk about it on RSPN and think Trump rally is like a love fest. And I used to say, I wonder if it really is like that. It really is like that. It really is. And I would love for you to experience it. Hey, how are you today? Is this your first Trump rally?
Yeah.
And what's your name?
John.
Hi, John. I like the shirt. I love it. It's very classy. Very classy, just like President Trump. So how old are you?
10.
10 years old. And you're excited to support your favorite president, huh? What do you love about President Trump?
I love how he actually is like really confident when he speaks too. And I love to hear his speeches.
I'm so happy to hear that. And I'm so glad you're here to share this day with all of us. Thank you for being here. It's great to meet you. And that's the point, right? Everybody of every age, they love to hear him talk. They love to hear what he has to say. And he knows it. He knows that. And he thrives on it. It's like a car's gasoline. He loves the fuel. And everybody's singing right now.
They're dancing, they're singing. It's
Yes.
incredible. It's really amazing. I mean, you basically have your own rally out here, the pre-rally, before you go inside and have your other rally. Sir, you're a great singer. Well, can I talk to you for a few seconds? What's your name? Are you? Is this your first Trump rally?
This is my first Trump rally. My name's Randy Pope, and I'm a retired correctional officer, and 14 years in the military, and I just love it.
I love it too. What do you think? What do you make of this atmosphere? Did you expect it to be like this? It's like a party atmosphere.
I expected to come off of 81 and the traffic be backed up on 81, and it wasn't.
Really?
Yeah, I was surprised, and we got in here, just people everywhere.
People are truly everywhere. You can't. I mean, listen, this goes on. You can't see the end of these crowds in sight. I mean, have you ever seen an event this large, a political rally?
Nope. And hopefully everybody stays safe.
I think we will. We have a lot of security here.
Dehydration is the biggest thing.
Dehydration. It's a hot one out here today. I love the shirt, Sons of Trump. Tell me what that's about. What is this?
Just I'm a motorcycle rider. Motorcycle club, yeah. So that's
motorcyclists for Trump. Yeah. They come out. I know they're big supporters of President Trump.
Exactly.
What do you think of the state of Pennsylvania? Do you think it's going to vote for Trump this November?
I think it has a good chance at it. As long as the governor stays here and doesn't go as a vice president.
Yeah. Do you think that? I mean, I know they're saying it might impact the state, but I hear his approval ratings are pretty bad. They're talking about Governor Shapiro, the state of Pennsylvania. What do you think of him?
I don't pay much attention to him. I just go day by day. I'm retired, and I just play golf and pay attention. Yeah.
Obviously support President Trump, exactly. But maybe if she adds him to the ticket, it might even make her worse off.
Exactly. Hopefully.
Well, it's great speaking to you. You enjoy your day, enjoy your first Trump rally, and it's a fun, festive environment. You got the.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Great interview, and I just had to say hi to these young ladies. They're so beautiful. Are you excited today to be here?
Yeah.
And what's your name?
Emma.
Emma, you're a beautiful girl. I love your little bracelet. You know what mine says? It says Trump. I had mine too. So how old are you?
7.
7 years old. And is that your big sister hiding over there?
Yeah.
So you're not the shy one. You wanted to be on TV. She's like, I don't know about it. Yeah. Is this the first time you've come to see a President Trump rally?
Yeah.
Are you going to say it on TV, say, make America great again?
Make America great again.
Well done. Thank you for that. Beautiful job. Thank you all so much. Enjoy your day. And we're going to throw it over to the studio. I believe the fabulous Matthew and Bobby will be there to bring all the incredible information. We're going to be throwing it over to them in just a couple minutes because in just moments, we're going to see President Trump speaking in Chicago, as the Chicagans,
right. To the National Association of Black Journalists.
Yes.
So, listen, he's outreaching to journalists. He's outreaching to the Black community there. He's held several events with Black community leaders. I know he did that back in Detroit when he did the Turning Point event a couple of months ago, back in June. He did that obviously today in Chicago, even though Chicago is a Democrat city.
Yeah.
He's reaching out to all types of voters.
He doesn't care.
People. He doesn't care.
He went to the Bronx.
He went to Harlem. he goes everywhere. He went to SneakerCon?
SneakerCon, yeah.
So like I said, he goes to
He
all
does.
outreach. You
He's
know,
the best.
he's speaking to old voters, young voters.
Because he wants to
everybody.
unite everybody. That's what I keep
That's what
telling
the MAGA
everybody.
movement is
It's
about,
amazing.
uniting the American people. And
Yes.
of course, the Midwest is where he has so many supporters, so
Oh,
many,
amazing.
union workers, so many people who work in
Yep.
manufacturing and coal mines. You know, you have all the people here. The true spirit of America, the American
That's what it
dream,
is.
goes through the Rust Belt.
We
and
love
the
it.
Midwest.
And
So-
we hope you guys will join us because we'll be back a little later today from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. But in just moments, we're going to throw it over to the studio, and then you'll have a chance to see President Trump in Chicago before he heads over to Harrisburg. Make sure to find us, of course, on Truth Social and on Instagram. I'm Nikki Stanzio, and that is Paul. How do you spell your last name? Say it really fast.
INGRASSIA.
There you go. I'll see you guys in a little later. Don't go anywhere. We're throwing it over to the studio.
Paul and Nikki, thank you so much. Live there in Harrisburg, I'm Matthew Alvarez here in the Right Side Broadcasting Network studios.
And I'm Bobby McNeely. We're coming to you live from Auburn, Alabama, getting ready for President Trump to address the National Association of Black Journalists. Chi-Town, here we come.
Yeah, exactly. And so awaiting for President Trump to arrive there at that convention. Of course, you know, Kamala Harris actually had an invitation to this, Bobby, you were saying earlier, but somehow had a schedule conflict and couldn't make it.
That's what her campaign said, although she was in Atlanta last night, a star-studded event with some rappers and a number of Georgia and Atlanta politicians in attendance. But let's be honest, I think the audience was going to see the entertainment, and that was not Vice President Kamala Harris.
Exactly. And so that's interesting. That's an interesting strategy to show that there's so many people in support of a candidate by bringing in celebrity status people. You pack the house out, and then what do we know? Harris spoke for about 17 minutes, and most of that content, or probably all of that content, was not in line with truth. So that's what the Democrat playbook looks like. You know, if Harris or anybody else that would run for office on the Democrat side, if they were to travel to Iowa or Nebraska or even California, Washington State, Texas, and they had no celebrities there and it was just them on stage speaking, how many people would actually show up is the question.
That is a great question. And I'm surprised, as we can see, this room is full. I was reading more about this convention and career fair, a really great opportunity for upcoming media people and journalism professionals. I'm just reading here that this year's convention in the Windy City will attract industry leaders, innovators, influencers in journalism, media, technology, business, government, community service, health, arts, entertainment, academia, and more. And they're looking to not only recruit some of the best and brightest minds in the journalism field, media executives, but educators, and really working to push forward on Black entrepreneurship, Black-owned businesses, and cultural institutions. I'm surprised the vice president really is not here to take advantage of a great event. Clearly, President Trump is going to have an engaging discussion with this group.
Yeah, so this is going to be, again, must-watch TV, must-watch streaming right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're thankful that you guys are joining us for this coverage today. This is an RSBN doubleheader. Of course, President Trump in Chicago, Illinois, then over to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania for Rally Day. And if you're just joining us, Bobby's from Illinois and I'm from Pennsylvania. So both of these events that are happening in our home states, pretty awesome to see that today.
Oh, it is. And both have 19 electoral votes. So they will both play a significant role in the upcoming election. Also, we've heard that on the short list potentially for Kamala Harris, Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, even some talk of J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, being on the Democrat ticket. Of course, the upcoming convention will also be in Chicago for the Democrats starting August 19th. And we're hearing that next Tuesday, she will likely finalize who that running mate will be. So that will be very interesting to see who the vice president selects as her running mate as they put together a ticket here after President Biden surprisingly dropped out of the presidential race. And it sure looks like there was some sort of concealment that took place. We had talked about this a couple of weeks what's Ritalin, something that would be over the counter or from a friend. And that's what's so important to make sure that even if it's a trusted source, just don't take something that you don't know where it comes from, because it could be laced with this awful toxin coming from China in through the border. This has been spoken on in bipartisan arenas. Of course, Brandon Judd, we had the opportunity to speak with him in Charlotte at that rally last week, speaking on the importance of sealing the border, and that President Trump was the best with his policies than any president he had worked for. And I believe he worked for 5 different presidents.
Exactly. So we know that 9.9 million illegal immigrants have crossed the border since Harris and Biden took office. That's nearly 10 million people, obviously bigger than the city of New York, the largest city in the country. And I believe it's the 4th largest city in the world, if I'm not mistaken, for the population.
Right.
So that's a lot of people, obviously. Before we continue here and before we toss it out there to Chicago, I want to tell you about the Birch Gold Group. All you have to do is text Trump to 989898. You'll get this awesome Birch Gold info kit in the mail, or you'll get a digital copy via texting Trump to 989898. And Bobby, why do you think it's good to have something like this as a backup plan?
Well, you look at how American foreign policy has changed from 50 years ago. The Nixon administration, with the leadership of Henry Kissinger, took away the gold standard in America. The deal was that Saudi Arabians would trade in petrodollars, therefore making the dollar the world's reserve currency. That has all changed now. The Saudi Arabians, since President Biden has taken office, has been trading in other nations' currencies. So you have the BRICS nations. This is led by Brazil, China, India. Everyone is trying to devalue that dollar and increase the value of their currency. So you have to protect yourself at home. And if you have questions about your 401k, your IRA, or want to diversify, look to gold, precious metals, silver, which can remain valuable when there's inflation, stagnation. You also have, of course, trillions and trillions of debt that the Biden administration has poured onto the backs of the American citizens. So look to our friends at Birch Gold. Great patriots support this, like Ron Paul, Dan Bongino, Steve Bannon as well. Text Trump to 989898. Go to Birch Gold Group and be financially secure for you and your family.
All right, it's about 1:40 p.m. On the East Coast, of course, waiting for President Trump to speak there in Chicago. More of a roundtable discussion, it looks like, today, too.
Right. You don't see the podium up there. It looks like the white couches, usually meaning that some journalists will come up and have a discussion with the president. I'm very excited to see how this will go, and probably aiming at public safety. I'm sure some discussion on the border, also Black entrepreneurship, Black-owned businesses, a huge thing in Chicago, of course. And I wonder what the reception will be like. It's a journalism group, you know. There's biases in journalism, and it tends to be a more liberal institution. But clearly, President Trump granting an olive branch and extension discussion taking place. And I'm really perplexed as to why Vice President Kamala Harris did not accept the invitation. I heard some sound bites from some attendees there who were on the board saying that they had reached out to all of the campaigns, but President Trump has graciously accepted. Of course, some criticism, but as I said, look, we're journalists. We have to cover who is going to be the next president of the United States. And it's very likely that President Trump will be the 47th president of the United States.
Well, then that's enough said. I mean, if that's what happens, then we can sit back and watch our country be made great again. So 19 electoral votes again in Illinois, 19 in Pennsylvania. We saw Paul Ingrassia and Nikki Stanzione, they're live interviewing great patriots outside of the Farm Show complex there in Harrisburg, PA. So 2 great events here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. And a quick program note, tomorrow we will have a camera live along the southern border in Arizona as the vice presidential nominee, J.D. Vance, the Ohio senator, will hold a press conference and be right there near the border. So we'll have that here tomorrow. And then, of course, in Atlanta, Georgia, for that great rally coming up. But rewind to right now. today's the big day for the coverage here at Right Side, as we will be seeing a loud crowd once again in Harrisburg, PA, as we saw every rally since Butler. I mean, even Butler was, think about the amount of people were in Butler alone, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of people there.
Oh, no question. And we're seeing numbers like in Grand Rapids, I believe it was over 12,000. In Charlotte, I think around that 15,000, if not more, number there. And that Nikki and I were just astounded by the entire stadium was full. They had an overflow crowd. They actually went next to the press pool. I took some pictures of that happening, because not everyone gets to the event in time. And that's why if you plan on going to one of these events, especially if you're going to go to Atlanta on Saturday, get in line right when the sun comes up, if you can, just to get a great seat and to get a great vantage point of seeing the 45th president of the United States, because these stadiums fill up very fast. But as he mentioned, he's planning to go back to Butler, to the location where the assassination attempt did happen. And per his True Social post, I believe a couple of days ago, President Trump saying that we have to have outdoor rallies again. Freedom of speech will not be deterred simply because of something as horrible as an assassination attempt.
And so outside, inside, or whatever side, we know that it's very loud. A lot of people packing a lot of these places here. You can see there even in Chicago. And then, of course, in Harrisburg, outside of that farm show arena, you see a lot of people waiting in line. And Bobby, while we were talking here, I know we're kind of reporting on what's going on, but I wanted to ask you a question too. Why are you so fired up in the sense of for our country? Why are you even doing this in conservative media right now?
Well, I mean, quite simply, this is a liberty versus tyranny election. This is an election that is not the typical Republican versus Democrat. This is about, are we going to move forward as a constitutional republic? Are we going to have a federal government that does not harass, say, families and parents in Virginia as they have, for simply going to school board meetings and saying, I don't want pornography in my students' libraries, my minor students' libraries. I want to live the American dream. And that's why I think this platform really speaks to the American people and how tangible it is to middle America and the middle class. And that's why I'm personally involved to get that information out there. We're both from mainstream media outlets, having done local news. And sadly, we've spoken off camera just about certain stories or certain times where we've run into difficulties, whether it be with managing editors who are saying, you have to tie these stories together that made no sense. And I was in a couple of situations, although I had a great newsroom all the way up in Anchorage, Alaska. I remember a time where there were two separate stories that were completely different. They wanted to put those together. And I said, I can't do that. You're inventing news. So it's nice to be at a wonderful network, Right Side Broadcasting, covering Trump rallies and Trump different conferences he goes to, like this NABJ conference in Chicago, Illinois, just to see the beginning to end. And we're not parsing or putting things out of context. We're showing you what's happening at these events so you, the viewers, can make those decisions at home.
So it is the truth. It is the true narrative. It is common sense. It is for the Constitution, for our country, right? So obviously that's why Bobby and I are working at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and the same with you see Paul Ingracia and Nikki Stanzione, Vanessa Broussard, and others, and people behind the scenes at the network. This is all about giving a voice to the American people and covering the people to the president. And that's what we do. And we love doing it. And we love showing you these live pictures in Chicago. And again, President Trump will travel from Chicago then to the Keystone State in Pennsylvania, as you've heard from Paul and Nikki, for his second stop of the day. So it is an RSBN doubleheader here, and obviously going to be very, very exciting to see President Trump in Pennsylvania. Near Philadelphia, it's only an hour and a half away from Philadelphia is where President Trump is speaking today. And you think of all the great history in that city when it comes to the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, the great law of this land, and the law that we hope and pray will continue on for years to come.
The Keystone State going to make a major splash in the electoral process and in the Electoral College. And it will be very interesting. Will Kamala Harris select the Keystone State governor Josh Shapiro? Will she select the Prairie State Governor, J.B. Pritzker, or someone else, perhaps Senator Mark Kelly out of Arizona? It seems as if she is finalizing that process. That will be an announcement looking like Tuesday of next week. I'm in anticipation of that, just to see who Senator Vance will be debating in the fall here. And I'm very excited for that. And I've enjoyed some of his comedy on the campaign trail, saying that he's a little jealous that President Trump gets to debate the vice president. He was looking forward to that.
And it's always good to hear Mr. Vance and Donald Trump out there on these campaign trails. We were talking about this as well off camera. We know that it's a very serious situation we're dealing with in this country. We know and we feel what you feel as well at home or wherever you're watching this broadcast right now of the direction of our country at this point. We know we need to get it saved, right?
Right.
Outside of that, though, President Trump with his comedy on stage, when he's still in the middle of this whole thing, is able to really make people laugh. And it's always nice to see that.
Oh, you will. I mean, these different rallies, you'll laugh, you might cry, you'll be inspired, simply because I think the heart that he brings to it. You know, President Trump is a businessman and really a people person. And I've really enjoyed hearing the stories since my involvement, not only in conservative media, but at institutions like True Social, Turning Point USA, just hearing the charitable nature and the time he takes with people to listen to their stories. He's genuinely interested in what people have to say. And that's a cornerstone for the journalism field. So I'm sure these folks are very interested in not only people's life stories, but what the president has to say today. And it's stories like when he talked to Senator Vance's young son, the 7-year-old son, right when he got word that he would be the running mate, and something that Senator Vance said he'll never forget for the rest of his life.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of great memories already happening early on with this Republican ticket as we move forward. As you see there, President Trump to speak at any moment in Chicago, a place, again, he goes from Chicago, he'll be in Atlanta this weekend. He's been in Detroit, New York, all over the place. And then he'll go to smaller areas as well. And it's just interesting to see the amount of people that are showing up in support of President Trump, because, you know, years ago, it was more, oh no, we're going to, Republicans, Democrats, we're going to really go like this. But it seems like Democrats are starting to say, you know what? I don't want to go way extreme liberal. Mm-hmm. I do want safety and peace, and I want someone that isn't so extreme on the left.
Right. And you could see that even, I mean, President Trump, before he was even involved in recent politics, helped the Chicago skyline with the Trump Tower, Trump International in Chicago, a beautiful building. Actually, when I was involved with Chicago Young Republicans and the Federation of Illinois Young Republicans, we like to go to the second floor brew bar and enjoy a cocktail there and say hello to folks. And it's a great spot on the other side of the Chicago River where you'll notice tourists or people taking a picture with the big Trump letters in the background. And a city that he has loved for a number of years, although the second city to his beloved New York City, of course, but someone who has changed skylines for the better and is looking to give an economic stimulus, a true economic stimulus, by getting government out and putting working people at the table. President Trump working hard for an economic revival in our country. And we did it before. I mean, you look at when Governor Jeb Bush, his rival in the 2016 election, tweeted out to him back in 2019. He said, Mr. President, congratulations. We have over 4% GDP, the gross domestic product in the United States. He claimed on the stage we could never get there in the 21st century. President Trump proved him wrong and proved many others wrong. And kudos to Governor Bush, who gave due credit where credit was due to President Trump.
Yeah, there's a lot of credit due to President Trump, as we know, from the 4 years of his first administration to what we hope to see another 4 years, of course. So if you're watching from rural America right now, suburbia, city, wherever you're watching from, if you're watching from a different country, I know there are a few viewers that are from other countries that watch Right Side Broadcasting Network as well. And we're all in this together. It's called freedom versus, unfortunately, tyranny, as your point was before. And what you see happening unfortunately, in Venezuela right now, some horrible images coming out of that country. And obviously, we want peace through strength and peace around the world as much as possible. And that happens through being strong.
Exactly. And the dictator Maduro there, clearly he's challenging Elon Musk to a fight. We watched that during the break. There's also calls for, well, we saw the police actually joining some of the protesters there. So people who are clearly yearning for their God-given right of liberty. And this was a free, prosperous nation once ago, before 1992, before their revolution, which revolved around control of the oil industry. This was a free, vibrant nation. It can be once again. And we can lose our liberties and freedoms if we aren't engaged in the process. This has happened to places like Iran. This has happened in Venezuela. And if we don't get engaged in our constitutional Republican, not the party, the process, we will fall as a nation or be a nation that simply is not what we recognize. And we've had people like the great one, Mark Levin, talk about this a lot, even on his own show, that we're living in a post-constitutional time. And that's why the return to civics is so important, and to educate folks on these important matters, to become engaged in the process, because it really only survives based on a wise and informed electorate.
100%. Looking live there in Chicago right now as we await for President Trump to take the stage. We'll go there live as soon as he approaches that stage, or if we hear the God Bless America song, of course,
Right.
we'll be ready to throw it there. If you watched our live coverage yesterday in Reno, Nevada, that was J.D. Vance, the vice presidential nominee, speaking in Reno last night. A great speech there.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, he is at Arizona today, and then tomorrow morning, he will visit the southern border. So a lot of news to get to here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Obviously, we were just talking about some of the headlines internationally with Venezuela, and also recently on that point, in the sense of international news, the Hamas leader that was just taken out by the IDF. So just a lot going on out there.
Ismail Hayemi, if I'm saying that correctly, was taken out by Israel. There was also a Hezbollah leader taken out in this ongoing war. We pray for the peace of Israel. And one of the main points on the platform promises, number 8, prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and in the Middle East, and build a Great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country, all made in America. So something that President Trump was very impressed with and clearly wants to mirror here in the United States. We are very blessed to be a nation, I think, divinely inspired, coast to coast. I really wonder, actually, I ponder if the founders would have envisioned such a grand, large nation as they did. Of course, one got to see that in full time, was Thomas Jefferson with the Louisiana Purchase.
Let's envision 2026 real quick. Now that you've kind of touched on that, is the Iowa Fair State Grounds. That would be our 250th birthday. And President Trump, a part of Agenda 47, would be holding this huge, huge party for America in 2026. So if we can, I know it's hard to disconnect from what's going on right now, but if we could just disconnect and think about a victory in November, and then what 2026 would be like for our country as we would celebrate 250 years. This is what it's either we go that direction or we go another direction. So this is why this election, as you talked about, I remember we were at the, I think it was RNC coverage. You're talking about how a lot of people say this is a big election coming up, or this is the biggest of our lifetime. But then you were saying, well, actually, this is the biggest election.
It really is. And I've been involved civically and in politics for most of my life. And I can tell you right now, I've been guilty of it in the past. But this 2024 is gigantic. I've never seen a Republican platform that says, number 11, rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. This President Donald Trump, is committed to the restoration of America and its greatness. And what great timing for 2026, for 250 years of our birth. We will have the World Cup actually happening in Atlanta, Georgia.
Wow.
What a grand stage that will be. I'm sure far better than what the debacle of the Olympics has been. And I feel bad for the athletes.
Yeah.
Paris, France had the opportunity to really showcase their cultural things that they have given to the world, their influence in cuisine, in Western civilization, their beauty that they've celebrated in Christianity with their kings. I mean, Louis XIV, his Bible is actually in the St. Louis Basilica in New Orleans, that beautiful backdrop, that cathedral, but just disgraced by the opening ceremonies. And that's so sad for the athletes. So something like the World Cup, we can showcase America in its greatness in one of its greatest cities, Atlanta, Georgia. I will be hoping to attend some of those activities with the soccer or football, if you will, called in other parts of the world. But it's important to do that because the other nations are watching. And that's what's been the debacle of the Biden-Harris administration, is these monsters in the world like Maduro, people like Kim Jong-un and Xi Jinping. I mean, these are tough people, and they need to be confronted with another tough person, and that's President Donald Trump, who clearly had peace through strength as part of the 45 agenda, hoping to turn that into Trump Force 47.
Exactly. So no new wars under the first Trump administration, and moving forward, peace through strength. I mean, it was perfect through that first Trump administration. So wanting to see more of the same, of course, coming up. Hopefully in November, and then Inauguration Day, January 20th, 2025. And we're talking about the GOP platform, and we have our favorites, right? I mean, all 20 are our favorite, right? But if I were to pick a few, number 7, I mean, your point was well taken, because you said, when would we see something like this where it's prevent World War III or end the weaponization of government against the people? How about number 7, defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our fundamental freedoms, you know?
Right.
That's part of a platform, something that we really haven't had to think about for a long time.
Well, and that's why I'm trying to coin it myself. I think he's the Federalist president. I mean, that's President Donald Trump is committed to the Bill of Rights. He is a states' rights president. And you'll hear on mainstream media that, oh, it's a dog whistle for this and that, but it's a bunch of hogwash. I watched some of CNN this morning, and I saw that they were talking about that. He had a recent interview, I believe, with someone who's attending this, Harris Faulkner, who will be in attendance today. Perhaps she is one of the MCs up on stage, but she interviewed President Trump the other day, and he said, look, these bad guys around the world are going to walk all over Kamala Harris. She's not tough enough. She's not well-versed. She's clearly has shown a disinterest in certain items you need to focus on as president. And he said they're going to walk all over her. Well, CNN tried to skew that as it's a dog whistle. Just a bunch of hogwash and a ridiculous thing that they're trying to put out there. I thought one of the more ridiculous things, too, is these white dudes for Harris. I mean, these celebrities who are obsessed with race and obsessed with dividing the country, it's really getting to the point of ridiculous, and to coin their term, weird.
And to coin President Trump's term, fake news.
Right.
All of it. We see through the fake news media. Isn't that awesome? Now we see it more than ever before. A lot of us are awake, right? We're awake to what's happening on the left with the false narratives, all of the messaging, all of the optics, all of the things that they're trying to win in the public court of opinion. But we are not falling for it. We're seeing truth. And thanks to President Trump for that. Thanks to Right Side Broadcasting Network for that. Thanks to conservative media as a whole. And then also to see and hear what the American people are thinking and feeling out there. Instead of it, see, that's the thing, guys. We don't talk all the time. And then Paul and Nikki aren't talking all the time, and Vanessa. We kind of stay quiet and interview the people, and we want to hear from them. And that's the thing that we don't see much of on the main networks. Some of them actually copy what we're doing, to be honest, just stepping out there and trying to get the but we go all out with it.
It's so important to do. We want to hear from you. We want to engage with you. And that's why we'd love for you to follow us on socials at RSBN, and go on to all the platforms, even those that did cancel President Trump, because as he says in his campaign, too big to rig, I think the messaging aspect is just as important as going to the polls and making a plan to vote, whether that be early or by mail or in person. And that's been a highlight of this campaign, but also getting involved in all of this information sharing. We were speaking earlier about Butler, Pennsylvania, and the terrible events that happened there with the assassination attempt. But now we have this footage being released of the local police making a perimeter around the would-be assassin. You see different situations where Secret Service has testified that they were not in communication with local law enforcement. And there are many holes, many gaps that we're still learning and trying to figure out. Investigations coming forward to put out what is forthright. And it's only done because we all have these things. We all have phones and cameras and the ability to share information faster than ever before. So it's important to be on multiple different platforms.
A lot of questions to be answered out of the Butler, Pennsylvania incident. And then, of course, we know that President Trump and the campaign and the American people will show up in force and be happy to do so when President Trump returns to Butler, PA for another rally, which he did say he's going to do on Truth Social. Speaking of Truth Social, Dan Scavino posts that President real Donald Trump is wheels down in Chicago. So that post was about 9 minutes ago. So we're thinking maybe around 15, 20 minutes ago is when he actually landed. And then, of course, on his way, if not already in that building right there in Chicago, as we await President Trump to take the stage there in this convention. Again, this is a pretty awesome convention because it has to do with journalism, right? And boy, do we need some reform in journalism. It's called Tell the Truth and let people share their opinions across the country. And then on top of that, it's the National Association of Black Journalists Convention. Okay, so we do want to thank one of our great sponsors here, Chuck Defense. This is a dietary supplement, has probiotics and power greens. It's called Morning Kick. Well, Chuck Norris, this guy, man, he's kicking. All right, he's doing great. ChuckDefense.com/Trump. I'll look up one of the Chuck Norris jokes while you share with the people what's going on.
I appreciate that. It's always ever evolving online with that. But how is this guy still in his 80s and still kicking butt? I mean, he is even shockingly stronger, can work out longer, and has plenty of energy left over for the grandkids. And he did this by just making one change, going with his new product. He says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this one thing too, and she's never felt better. Says she feels 10 years younger, and her body looks leaner. And she says she has all the energy all day. Of course, he's made this special video with President Trump that you can find on ChuckDefense.com/Trump and by clicking that video.
Exactly. So you see that information there on the screen. And, you know, outside of this sponsor, some of the Chuck Norris so-called jokes, my college buddy sends me them once in a while, some of these. Chuck Norris can dribble a bowling ball. Chuck Norris plays Jenga with Stonehenge. Or how about Chuck Norris is able to slam a revolving door? So kind of fun there.
And Matthew, do you know that Chuck Norris's tears actually do cure cancer?
Wow.
But sadly, he never cries.
There you go.
There you go.
One more real quick. When Chuck Norris lifts weights, the weights get in shape. So anyway, it's just fun to look them up. Some dry humor there for you. I know you're not tuning in for a comedy show, but you know what? Again, President Trump is very comedic when he's up there on the stage sometimes. Obviously shares with us all of the strong points of Agenda 47, the GOP platform. We understand what's going on in the country. He understands it. But boy, I'll tell you, laughter is needed. And so make comedy great again. Bobby McNeely.
I love that so much. We have to make America laugh again.
Yeah.
It is a wonderful thing. It adds years to your life. And I do enjoy that about the different Trump speeches, whether it be a rally, whether it be down at Turning Point USA, the Believer Summit. There's always an encouragement, and he seems to keep it lighthearted. Had a lot of fun with Bryson DeChambeau down in West Palm Beach as they were golfing together, raising money for the Wounded Warrior Project. President Trump knows how to have fun in the middle of, you know, sometimes a dark path, sometimes a scary horizon, but be not afraid. Dr. Ben Carson, going back to that theme, whether it be at the conference in Florida or whether it be at the RNC in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And he had mentioned that it says that exactly 365 times a day. A great reminder as to how to conduct ourselves as believers and people engaged in the political process.
1,000,000% on that one. We're going to dive into the national U.S. politics polls here with Polly Market and Interactive and Rasmussen. But before we jump into the swing state polls, to your point, Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runs over. And surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. Psalm 23. Beautiful. And President Trump posting some Bible scriptures today on Truth Social as well, as, of course, a Judeo-Christian country that we are, born out of that, right, with the Constitution and the Bible here in this United States. So let's tackle some of these polls here. We know both Illinois and Pennsylvania, there's 19 electoral votes up for grabs in each state. Pennsylvania is, of course, one of the 7 all-important swing states. Let's talk about, we've got Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, Nevada, Arizona, and North Carolina. Which state would you like to tackle here?
Right. Well, we could go right off the top with Georgia. I mean, clearly it's going to be one that both campaigns will visit heavily. We have Kamala Harris really kicking it off in Atlanta yesterday. President Trump and Senator Vance will be there on Saturday for a rally. And this is an interesting state. Many people have moved there in the last decade or so. Of course, it's had really an immense amount of growth since its last Olympics in 1996, and an area that has gone more purple. It was interesting to watch the 2022 election. Senator Warnock was reelected, so they have 2 Democrat senators in Georgia, but all of the state constitutional offices are held by Republicans, large majorities in the House and the Senate as well for Georgia. As you see, they have an area that is the perimeter, that's 285. The perimeter surrounds downtown and metropolitan Atlanta. That has historically been more of the blue area, whereas the surrounding areas, suburbs, and all of the rural areas in Georgia have been more red. And that has changed a little bit, become more purple over the last few years. But this will be a main contender. With what I know on the ground right now, it looks like President Trump is doing very well in Georgia, but one that is going to be heavily targeted as we move forward with this campaign.
Definitely. Just to recap real quick before we continue with some of the states, if you're just joining us, you're looking at a live picture from Chicago. Obviously, you see there on your screen. As soon as President Trump takes the stage there as part of that roundtable, we'll go there live. And then, of course, Paul Ingrassia and Nikki Stanzione are live in Harrisburg, PA. We'll have a different live stream for that Harrisburg, PA rally. So once President Trump is done speaking on this one that you guys are watching on, this stream will close down. The new one will start up on Rumble, YouTube, wherever you're watching. Then just go ahead and click on that. Bobby and I will be in the studio for the Pennsylvania rally as well, and we'll be throwing it out there as soon as that does start up. So again, President Trump about to take the stage there in Chicago as we are about 8 minutes after 2 o'clock there on the East Coast. So we just talked about Georgia, obviously Wisconsin with Milwaukee, Michigan, Detroit, Nevada, Vegas, Reno, Arizona, Phoenix, and all these other areas, North Carolina. When we look at all these states, it reminds me of 2016 because 2016, President Trump won all of those states.
Right, he did. And I think he could definitely replicate that in 2024. Of course, we see Senator Vance was in Nevada yesterday, and that pledge of no taxes on service workers, I think, will hugely affect Nevada. And I was even goofing around with this map here, the 270towin.com, which actually a very good site because it takes the major polling and really breaks it down. And you can see past results of other elections. But I played around with if everyone, according to these polling numbers, goes that direction with certain states, it leaves Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania as toss-ups. So you might think 6 electoral votes, oh gosh, that's not much. It could be a make or break state for either campaign. And what's very interesting with Nevada is specifically is their tourism, their service industries. They're arguably the entertainment capital of the country, heavily affected by the Biden-Harris policies in a negative way, with inflation and with people not necessarily wanting to spend their tourism dollars there, will change drastically under a Trump administration.
Exactly. No tax on tips. Of course, Vegas is a hot spot for the tips, right? So is Nashville, Tennessee, New York City, Atlanta. Name a big city. Tips are, all the restaurants and the fine dining, or just the fun, country bars, maybe in Nashville. You just think of all these places, San Diego, Seattle, wherever. A lot of people out there in the service industry. I've worked in the service industry myself. I mean, I get it. When you end your break or end your shift, man, you want to see some of that dough come your way. You know what I mean?
You really do. You don't want that taken away. And then that's why it's also important to tip. I've been there myself. I learned so much from the restaurant industry, and it's helped me in every aspect of my career. But a lot of times too, the servers are pooling their tips with the serving assistants or the bus boys back of house as well. So everything that you're tipping is actually being split up pending the structure of the company, the structure of the restaurant. So that's why it's so important to hit that, at least that 20% mark. Be generous to your servers and your waiters, because they're living off of that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, especially in the fine dining arena, they're not making that much hourly, sometimes only $4, because they have a higher tip percentage. But just please be generous with their services, because they're running around standing on their feet for hours. Make sure you have a nice time with you and your family.
Exactly. And some of them making less than that, maybe $2, $2.35, that kind of thing. So,
right.
So tips, obviously a big thing. So no tax on tips if you vote President Trump 2024. All right, so obviously we have a RSBN doubleheader. We're in the first part of that, so kind of like the first half of the football game right now, as we're waiting to toss it out there to Chicago, Illinois, for President Trump attending the National Association of Black Journalists convention. Then from there, as you heard from Nikki Stanzione earlier, he'll board Trump Force One, fly maybe, 400, 500 miles to Pennsylvania. I have to look at the exact mileage, but down to Harrisburg, PA, for Rally Day in the Keystone State. So a lot of good things to look forward to today.
Very excited. 2 different forums as well. It looks like the president will just be receiving questions from different journalists and those involved with this organization. And again, the National Association of Black Journalists. It was interesting to read about this group, because this year's convention is focused on attracting industry leaders, influencers in journalism and media, but also business, government, community organizations, services, arts, entertainment, academia, and more. So they are trying to draw the brightest journalists, the educators of journalism, and marketing professionals. And we're going to throw to Chicago, where it looks like President is about to come out.
For political reporter Kadia Goba. And anchor of the Faulkner Focus and co-host of Outnumbered on Fox News, Harris Faulkner.
NABJ. Mic's on? Hear me? There we go. Test, test, test. Good afternoon, NABJ, and welcome to a conversation with former President Donald Trump. This discussion continues a decades-long tradition during election years of inviting journalists to discuss the policies and their impact with the candidates who are running for president, and the impact of those policies, especially in Black communities. Former Presidents George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Bill Clinton have attended the NABJ conventions either as presidents or as presidential candidates in past years. NABJ is currently in conversation with Vice President Kamala Harris's team to schedule a Q&A either in person or virtually in September. As journalists, we use opportunities like these both to inform our reporting, but also to help voters understand the choices that they face in a consequential and historic election year. NABJ has partnered with PolitiFact to fact check this conversation in real time. You can access that feed on social media using the hashtag NABJ Fact Check. Again, the hashtag is NABJ Fact Check. We have a lot to get to, and we do not want to waste any time. So let's bring out the former president of the United States, the Republican nominee for president, former President Donald Trump. Thank you. Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe Black district attorneys. You've attacked Black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking Black supporters to vote for you, why should Black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the Black population of this country. I've done so much for the Black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for Black workers and Black entrepreneurs. I've done so much. And, you know, and I say this, historically Black colleges and universities were out of money. They were stone cold broke. And I saved them and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, you know, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was
President,
wrong.
I would love
I think
if you
it's
can
a
answer
very
the question
nasty
on your rhetoric
question.
and why you
I have
believe that
answered
Black
the
voters
question.
should trust you with another
I
4
have
years.
been the best president for the Black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President
That's
Johnson,
my
who signed the
answer.
Voting Rights
And
Act?
for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
Give me a
literally the
definition then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question, a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me, if you
I
would.
just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a Black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she Black?
She has always
But you know
identified
what?
as a Black woman.
I
She went to a
respect
historically
either
Black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a Black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do
And
you
I
believe
think,
that
I think
she is
somebody should look into that too when you ask continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some
I
Republicans
really
have
don't
said?
know. I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length. And we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that.
Well, you
interview.
told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion. Look, I want to talk about why you're here today. I mean, it is not lost on us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we are divided along the lines of race, along the lines of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
And
Mr. President,
they're taking the employment away from black people. They're coming in, they're invading. It's an invasion of millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the black population, is affected most by that, and Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's the border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border czar like this. She's never even essentially been. She said she was there once, but not the right part of the border. So she was a border czar. She's done a horrible job. These people are coming into our country, and they're taking black jobs and Hispanic jobs, and frankly, they're taking union jobs. Unions are being very badly affected by all of the millions of people that are pouring into our country. And one thing, as we discussed, many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons, from jails. They're gang members in other countries. Other countries are setting loose their prisoners. They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're taking their bad people, drug dealers, gang members, and they're bringing them into the United States. And by the way, their crime rate is going down, and our crime rate is going to be a disaster.
Mr. President, I want to get into how you address some of the issues with black communities. And I say that plural because we live in communities of color that are different. We're not all the same. We don't vote the same. We don't think the same.
True.
It's not monolithic. So as you come here today, I want to talk about something that bursts. And this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now. The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble. Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single black moms, when you look statistically. Yeah. How do you turn it around? What's your plan for the black community when it comes to money?
So, first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment, because I guess, this woman was unable to get the right equipment. But it's very hard for me to hear you, but I can hear every other word. It's very difficult, actually. But so I don't know if they can fix it or do something with it, but I'll do the best I can with it. The inflation is absolutely destroying our middle class, our working class, virtually every class. Inflation is a disaster in our country. Inflation is a country buster. It breaks every country. And we had, in my opinion, the worst inflation we've had. They say it's 58 years, but I think it's much more than that. It's been devastating. And if you just take a look at a lot of things they don't include, like interest rates. Interest rates went from 2.4% to 10%, and you can't get the money. People can't buy houses. They no longer have the American dream. Young people, young black people, they don't have the American dream anymore. They can't buy a house. They can't borrow the money because of the cost of the money. They can't buy it because of the cost of housing, because of the cost to build it, because of inflation. Inflation is a disaster, and it's destroying our country, and it's destroying the black community probably as much or
So what do
more
you do?
than any
What's your plan?
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden. By the way, just if I might, I was running against a man named Biden. You probably saw that. And he was losing very badly in the polls. And then he had a rather bad debate. I would say it was a bad debate. I would say it was one of the worst debates in history. And his poll numbers crashed. And instead of saying, you know, let's keep going and maybe something happens the other way, they said, oh, we're going to replace him. Let's just replace him. That's like you're in a fight. A prize fighter's in a fight. He's not doing what you say, let's bring in another fighter. So our whole campaign was steered toward him. And now we have to steer toward him. But ultimately, it's the same because they have bad policy. They have policies of open borders, unbelievable open borders, horrible energy policies. They want to get rid of as you say, gasoline in cars. They want to get rid of oil. They want to get rid of efficient heating.
Mr. President.
Environmentally, what they're doing is killing our country. They're absolutely destroying our country. But the inflation is the thing that's hurting the black worker, the black population, and every other population within our country. Inflation is the worst it's been, I think, in over 100 years. And they'll fact check it. They'll say it's only 58, whatever it may be. They don't add all the numbers. They don't add the really bad numbers, and you can check that too. But inflation, Harris, is absolutely destroying this country and the people in our country. Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
President, can I ask you another question
Yes,
that is also impacting Black Americans?
And that's very clear now. Good.
I'm sorry?
It's very clear. I hear you.
Okay. So Sonia Massey, someone from Illinois, an unarmed Black woman, was shot the other day in her home by a deputy sheriff. The deputy has since been charged with murder. You said police would get immunity from prosecution if you win. Why should someone like that officer have immunity, in your opinion?
Immunity?
Immunity.
I don't know the exact case, but I saw something, and it didn't look good to me. It didn't look good to me. Are you talking with the water, right?
Yeah, well, police unions are not backing this person either.
Okay.
But again,
they're going to be charging the officer? I guess they're charging the officer.
So why should he receive immunity?
Well, he might not. I mean, it depends. It depends on what happens. I'm talking about people that are much different cases than that. We need people to protect ourselves. And by the way, in Chicago, as an example, a few weeks ago, July 4th weekend, they had 117 shootings and 17 deaths. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. We need to have our police officers have the respect and dignity back. In this particular case, I saw something that didn't look good to me. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
So can you get a little more specific back to the immunity question? Who would make those
Well, right now, for the most part, people are protected by their unions, by their police unions, or by their police departments. But I'm saying if I felt, or if a group of people would feel that somebody was being unfairly prosecuted because the person did a good job maybe with crime, or made a mistake, an innocent mistake. There's a big difference between being a bad person and making an innocent mistake. But if somebody made an innocent mistake, I would want to help that person.
What would those exceptions be? What would determine
You
an
go
innocent
after
mistake?
somebody and it's a very close call and it's very dangerous. And you know, they have, the policeman's life and woman is a very difficult thing because sometimes you have less than a second to make a, life and death decision. And sometimes very bad decisions are made. They're not made from an evil standpoint, but they're made from the standpoint of they made a mistake.
So I want to follow up really quickly. I find it interesting because you do talk about reining in prosecutors, especially when it comes to prosecutors that are prosecuting you. Why doesn't that skepticism apply to law enforcement?
Well, I've been prosecuted because I'm a political opponent of two people that have weaponized our justice system. I've been prosecuted. I just won the big case in Florida. Everyone said that was the biggest case. That was the most difficult case. and I just won it. Now, Biden has a similar case, except much worse. I was protected under the Presidential Records Act. Biden wasn't, because he wasn't president at the time, and he had 50 years worth of documents, and they ruled that he was incompetent, and therefore he shouldn't stand trial. And I said, isn't that something? He's incompetent and he can't stand trial, and yet he can be president. Isn't that nice?
Mr. President,
but they released him on the basis that he was incompetent. They said he had no memory, and he was a nice old guy, but he had no memory, and therefore we're not going to prosecute him. I won the case, and it got very little publicity. I didn't notice ABC doing any publicity on it, George.
We covered you
George
extensively, sir. I'd love to move over on to
I
different
didn't
topics
notice you
now.
do any publicity on it at all. I won the case, the biggest case. This is an attack on a political opponent. I have another one where I
Sir,
have
if you
a
don't mind, I'd
hostile
love
judge.
to. We have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different
No,
topics.
excuse
if
you.
we
You're the
can.
one that held me up for 35 minutes, just so you understand.
If we can move on now to the state of the race, sir, I want to get back to the campaign. Senator J.D. Vance is your running mate. He's had a lot of controversy lately, and I want to read you a few things that he has said in the past. He said the Democrats running the country are a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. He's not talking here about how great it is to be a parent. He's attacking what he says are the choices people are making to not have children. Did you know that he had these views about people who do not have children before you picked him to be your running mate? And do you agree with him?
No, I know this. He is very family oriented, and he thinks family is a great thing. That doesn't mean he thinks that if you don't have a family, it's not. I know people with families. I know people with great families. I know people with very troubled families. And I also know people with no families. They didn't meet the right person. Things happen. You go through life, you don't meet the right person.
But he's not just talking
Excuse
about
me.
families here.
And
He also
some of
says that
those
people that don't have children should get less votes than
That's
those
all right.
that do.
I'm just speaking for myself.
that your
and I
campaign
think I'm
position?
speaking for him too. He strongly believes in family, but I know people with great families. I know people with not great families that don't have a family. And the people without the family are far better. They're superior in many cases, okay? He's not saying they're not. What he's saying is that he thinks the family experience is a very important thing. It's a very good thing. But that doesn't mean that if you grow up and you grow older and you don't meet somebody that would be wonderful to meet and would have been good, that that's a bad thing. He's not saying that. My interpretation, you'll have to ask him actually, but my interpretation is he's strongly family oriented. But that doesn't mean if you don't have a family, there's something wrong with it.
Just one last point and then we'll move on. Just one of the bedrock principles of American life is one person, one vote. Senator J.D. Vance has suggested that someone who has children should have more votes than a person who does not have children. I just want to be clear here. Is that the position of your campaign?
Well, no, but it's not something I have ever heard before. I can tell you this. Right now you have illegal aliens coming into our country, many from prisons and many from mental institutions, and they want to give them votes. I don't think they should have votes. They came into our country illegally, and they're taking the vote away from all of the people in this room that have been here a long time, that have worked hard, that in many cases, and you'll see this happening, if I'm not elected, you're going to see it happen. If I am, you're not going to have any problem. But you're going to see it happening a long time. You're going to see the people in this room and people outside of this room are going to be losing their jobs to people that have come into this country illegally.
Mr. President, can we stay with just kind of the state of the race right now? Because I felt like that vice president question, candidate question was right in there with that. So let's talk about J.D. Vance for a little bit. He's had some stumbles out of the gate. I don't know if you're hearing what we hear as reporters, but it's been a tough couple of weeks for him. Why did you choose J.D. Vance?
Why
did you choose him? And I'm having a hard time hearing too. I know everybody out there can, but it's hard
I'll tell
to
you
hear.
why. I chose him because he's a very strong believer in work and the working man and woman, and especially the working man and woman who have been treated very unfairly, because you have many of them in this room. But you have many of those people that were treated very unfairly. They worked very hard and they were treated unfairly. He wrote the book that became a bestseller. The movie became a smash hit. He's a very smart guy without the benefit of having a family that has contacts, like a father that was well connected. He got into Yale Law School. He graduated in 2 years from Ohio State, summa cum laude. I mean, you take a look at, his career has been an amazing career. He started off at a level with a difficult family situation, very difficult with the mother and the father and everything else. He ends up going to Yale Law School and was one of the top students, became the head of the Law Journal. I mean, it's an amazing thing. He's a 4-year, he was in the military with great distinction for 4 years, got out, went into business, became successful in business, very successful in business, actually, did public offerings and other things. And I have to believe in that. I mean, he's somebody that was born in a rough situation. Most of the people know that situation because it was very well documented in his book. And I have a lot of respect for somebody that can get into Yale and become one of the best students in Yale, that meets a young woman at Yale who was also outstanding, and they get married, they have a beautiful family. But he had he's made himself an amazing life. He then goes to Ohio, lives in Ohio, and he had my endorsement. That helped. But he wins the Senate. He becomes a United States Senator. So he's a United States Senator. So Harris, like I respect you for your success, I respect people for their success.
The reason I asked the question is because the last time you and I sat and talked was the day that you were shot. We've been together for much of that day. You left to go to Butler, Pennsylvania, and we didn't know what was next.
Yeah.
And 2 days after that,
I cannot understand your microphone.
I know
is so
it is
muffled.
really hard for me
I
to
mean, it's just
understand you too.
I can understand you perfectly.
Because she's closer.
I can understand you,
Happy to hear that, sir.
but I can't
Really happy to hear
understand
that.
Harris
I have a few more questions.
because of the distance, and the mics are really in lousy shape. But I cannot understand what you're saying.
So what I wanted to say was the last time we spoke, you said some words that were prophetic because I asked you who you wanted to choose for vice president.
Yeah.
And you said normally it really wouldn't matter what they would bring, you choose somebody that you think has a future, that sort of thing. But you said these words 3.5 hours before an attempted assassination on your life. You told me that bad things happen, Harris, and that's why this decision is important this time. Bad things happen. You said it twice. When you look at J.D. Vance, is he ready on day one?
Does he what?
Ready on day one, if he has to be.
I've always had great respect for him, and for the other candidates too. But I will say this, and I think this is well documented. Historically, the vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact. You have 2 or 3 days where there's a lot of commotion as to who, like you're having it on the Democrat side, who it's going to be. And then that dies down, and it's all about the presidential pick. Virtually never has it mattered. Maybe Lyndon Johnson mattered for different reasons of what we're talking about, not for vote reasons, but for political reasons, other political reasons. But historically, the choice of a vice president makes no difference. You're voting for the president, and you can have a vice president who's outstanding in every way, and I think JD is. I think that all of them would have been, but you're not voting that way. You're voting for the president. You're voting for me. If you like me, I'm going to win. If you don't like me, I'm not going to win.
I'm going to get my J.D. Vance question in.
J.D. Vance?
I'm going to get my J.D. Vance question in. To your point and to Rachel's point, he has a lot of opinions about childless women like myself or divorced people like yourself. Do you think, well, I mean, my point is here.
But at least it was said in a friendly manner.
My point is, do you think the Republican Party is getting a little bit too judgy about people's lives when you think about abortion or when you think about what J.D. Vance is saying?
I don't think, look, I think that the Democrat Party is really the one that has the problem. I think they're radical on abortion because they're allowing abortion in the 9th month. They're allowing the death.
I think it's
they're
about
allowing
freedom,
the
right?
death of a baby after the baby is born, based on
Sir,
the
that
governor
is
of
illegal
Virginia.
in every state in the country.
Based on the governor of Virginia,
Executing a
they're
baby in
allowing the
every
death
state
of the
in the country
baby
is illegal.
after it's born. They're
It's a crime.
allowing abortions in the 8th and 9th month.
Well, Democrats have denied.
I think they're right. And I think the Republican Party is actually much less. I think I've made them much less radical, perhaps. But the Republican Party, what we're doing is bringing it back to the states where everybody wanted it. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, everybody wanted abortion brought back. They didn't want Roe v. Wade in the federal government. They wanted it, everybody
But the
wanted
majority
it
of
back.
Americans oppose
Excuse
Roe
me.
v. Wade being overturned.
They
Multiple
don't know
polls have showed
about
that,
this.
sir.
Right now, they're voting. It brought it back to the states. Now, I happen to believe in the three exceptions. Ronald Reagan believed with rape, incest, life of the mother. I do. I think most people do. I think most Republicans do also. But if you take a look, right now they're doing, it's an amazing thing, out of the federal government, it's in states, and people are voting. And I will say, Ohio is, let's call it a more liberal version, has been approved. Kansas, the same thing, a little bit surprising to a lot of people. But the people are now voting. And it's taking this issue that's been going on for 52 years and has torn our country apart, and it's giving it to the people to vote on. And they're voting. And many states have already voted. Others are in the process of voting. And it's bringing it back to the people and a vote of the people. And it's not at all radical. And again, you have to follow your heart. I happen to believe in the three exceptions. Most people believe in the three exceptions. Most Republicans believe in the exceptions. But they don't want to see an abortion in the 9th month or the 8th month. Almost everybody agrees to that. And they certainly don't want to see, in the case of the governor of Virginia, the former governor, I might add, who said, we set the baby aside and then we decide what to do. Meaning, what do? We execute the baby. That's a radical, horrible position. And some people want that. I don't want it. Most people don't.
Thank you. Can I just pivot really quickly to another question about, you brought up health, Harris. You're an active man. We see you golfing all the time. But if you win, you'll still be president at 82, which is older than Biden is right now.
But not mentally. Look, mentally.
Here's the question.
He's shot. But most people, I know many people in their 80s and their 90s that are in great shape. Some of our greatest leaders. You look at throughout the world history, the greatest leaders, some of the greatest leaders in the world were in their 80s.
But here's the question. Would you consider stepping down if you felt that your health was declining? Or would you?
Oh, absolutely.
And who would
I think I'd know.
How would you make that decision?
I think I'd know. Look, if I came onto a stage like this and I got treated so rudely as this woman treated
Oh my
me,
goodness.
and I'm fine with it because she was very rude, sir. Very rude. That was that wasn't a question. She didn't ask me a question. She gave a statement. That wasn't a question.
I repeated your statement, sir, actually.
You said you would. You would.
Oh,
make that
absolutely.
decision
If I
to step
thought
down.
that I was failing in some way, I want people to be sharp. I'll go a step further. I want anybody running for president to take an aptitude test, to take a cognitive test. I think it's a great idea. And I took 2 of them and I aced them.
Well,
I took 2 of them. But let me ask you, I would like to have people running for president. And I don't mean because they're 75 or 85. I think anybody running, I'd like to do it. People say it's not constitutional. I would like to have something passed where you can do it. I think we should know. I mean, I've watched what's happened in the last couple of years under this gentleman, and our country is a mess. We have inflation. We have the millions of people falling in. We have Afghanistan, which was the worst, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. What he has done to our country, and her too, what they've done to our country, she has been a horrible vice president. She's considered the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Don't mean to interrupt you, but would you consider taking the cognitive test?
Mr. President.
I would love to
and
do
make
it
it public.
Well, I've already taken 2 of them, but I'll do it again.
Mr. President, how do you intend to?
I suggested, Harris, that let's take one. I said, Joe and I will go and take a cognitive test. Now, I'd do it with her too. I would do it with her also. You know what? She failed her law exam. She didn't pass her law exam, so maybe she wouldn't pass the cognitive test.
Mr. President, are you saying she wouldn't pass? Just to be clear,
I'm just giving you the fact.
To be clear, you don't think Harris?
How do you intend? She didn't pass her bar exam, and she didn't think she would pass it, and she didn't think she was going to ever pass it. And I don't know what happened. Maybe she passed it.
She did pass it.
There's a man over here. I think he must work.
Mr. President, I would love to ask you about January 6th. You've called yourself the candidate of law and order.
Yeah.
When Time Magazine asked you if you would consider pardoning all the rioters, you said, yes, absolutely.
Sure.
You called them patriots. 140 police officers were assaulted that day. Their injuries included broken bones, at least one officer lost an eye, one had 2 cracked ribs, 2 smashed spinal discs, another had a stroke. Were the people who assaulted those 140 officers, including those I just mentioned, patriots who deserve pardons?
Well, let me bring it back to modern day. Like about 5 days ago, we had an attack on the Capitol, a horrible attack on the Capitol. You saw the people that were protesting and spraying these incredible monuments, bells, lions, all these magnificent limestone and granite with red paint, red spray paint that will never actually come off, especially in the limestone. It will never, I'm a builder, I know about this stuff. It'll never, you'll see it in 100 years from now. They viciously attacked our government. They fought with police. They fought with them much more openly than I saw on January 6th. What's going to happen to those people? What's going to happen to the people in Portland that destroyed that city?
But sir, my question is on those.
What's going to happen to the people that tried to
My question is on those rioters who assaulted officers.
You have to
would you pardon
what's
those
going to
people?
happen? Oh, absolutely, I would.
You
If
would
they're
pardon
innocent-
those?
If they're innocent, I would pardon them.
They've been convicted.
And by the way, the Supreme Court just well, they were convicted by a very tough system. They were. How come the people that tried to burn down Minneapolis? How come the people that took over a large percentage of Seattle? How come nothing happened to them? How come the people?
But sir, we're talking about people that were seen beating officers with flagpoles, dragging them down the stairs. They're on video. Have you seen that video, sir?
Oh, really? Well, they
you would
shot.
pardon those. You would pardon those rioters?
They shot a young lady in the face who was protesting. They shot her in the face. You know, nobody died that day. You do know that. But people died in Seattle. Nobody died, but people died in Minneapolis. You know, people died in Minneapolis. And nothing happens, and nobody ever talks, and nothing happens to those people. But you went after the J6 people with a vengeance. And I'll tell you what about the cops that were, and I'm all for the police, as you know, but what about the police that are ushering everybody into the Capitol? Go in, go in, go in. What about that? Look, nothing is perfect in life, but you have people from Minneapolis, you have people just from 5 days ago in Washington, D.C. They were having fistfights and fighting with the police. They were spraying and destroying. They were desecrating our monuments in Washington, D.C. 5 days ago, and nothing happened to them. And you can't have two systems of justice. That's why they went after me as a political opponent, because they felt they couldn't win without doing that. And we're going to win our cases and we're going to be vindicated. But I have to spend a lot of time on that and money. That's what they want. After the election, they won't care. Although in my case, I think they probably will, because the hatred is pretty deep. But I'll tell you, they went after me as a political opponent. That's never happened in our country before. And it sets a terrible, terrible precedent.
What do you do on day one if you win? What's your first thing?
What do? I close the border. And I do two things, because I can do a lot of things simultaneously. I close the border. We don't want people coming in. We want people to come in, Harris, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. They have to come in legally. We want people. I want people to come into our country, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. So when you say, what do? That, and I drill, baby, drill. I bring energy way down. I bring interest rates down. I bring inflation way down, so people can buy bacon again, so people can buy a ham sandwich again, so that people can go to a restaurant and afford it. Because right now, people can't buy food. Your grocery bills are up 40, 50, 60%, right? She's agreeing to me. Oh, she's agreeing. Thank you. I like you very much.
Mr. President, I think we are.
But it's true. Your grocery bills are up. And then they're mandating that you buy an all-electric car. You know, Elon Musk endorsed me, and he's a friend of mine. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. But I'm against everybody having an electric car, okay? I'm very much against that. You have to be able to, if you want a hybrid or if you want a gasoline-propelled car. But, you know, we have more liquid gold, gasoline, oil, under our feet than any other country. More than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia, more than any other country. I want to use it. I want to use what we have. I want to bring down prices, bring down costs. And I also have to stop the invasion. And remember, they're taking your jobs. These people coming in are taking your jobs.
Project 2025.
I think we have to leave it there by the Trump team.
All right.
So leave it. That is the last word. Thank you so much, Mr. Trump, for coming today and joining us.
Well, thank you very much.
They've been telling us.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, very much. Great
Thank you,
honor.
Mr. President.
Thank you.
NABJ will email about details regarding the conversation with Vice President Kamala Harris in September. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Well, that was quite interesting. As you all know, this is Matthew Alvarez with Bobby McNeely here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Of course, President Trump somewhat going into the lion's den there. Of course, Harris Faulkner being respectful to the president, that first journalist to President Trump's left, not so much. Unexpected in some ways. We thought this would be more of a roundtable discussion, and instead there was some hostile words or questions and statements, and you can tell there is extreme bias there by that one journalist. And as you heard, the Trump campaign said, let's take President Trump on to Pennsylvania for Rally Day in PA. Joining us hopefully soon for a very brief back and forth will be Pastor Mark Burns. But your thoughts, Bobby, about what just happened there?
Well, it's something that the mainstream media has making a highlight of their career, has been pushing this far left agenda, this narrative of race baiting. And it was great to see how President Trump responded to the so-called journalist regarding opportunity zones, everything he's done to increase Black employment during his tenure. Also just wanting everyone to have access to jobs. This is something you'll hear a lot of these themes, especially in AME churches, in the African Methodist Episcopalian churches, that illegal immigration is greatly affecting the African American community in the United States. All facts that President Trump has worked diligently on, highlighting that in his platform, the Republican platform, about securing and sealing the border. And really, you saw unemployment amongst minority populations in the United States drastically went down under the first Trump administration. So keeping it calm, collective, funny at times, going into what was the lion's den to make his points about how he can make the economy strong again.
Exactly. It reminded me of CNN with Caitlin Collins. You remember when Caitlin Collins was trying to ask President Trump a number of questions, and President Trump called Caitlin Collins, said that you're a nasty person, if you remember that interview. So more of the same. Again, this is just the left trying to pin Americans against each other, no matter where we're from, what we look like, or what we believe in. And we just saw it right there in front of our eyes. The same thing, again, Caitlin Collins, she is white, and this other journalist is Black. Who cares what color? But the fact is, it's what's behind the questioning and the hostile type of exactly race baiting situation. That's not what's the truth. The truth is that people from all backgrounds, we have seen boots on the ground, whether it's in the Bronx, whether it's in Detroit, whether it's in rural America. There are people from all backgrounds that we see that are supporting a president that wants common sense and the truth to be the way forward, right? The Constitution. So again, the left wing trying to throw their curveball there, but President Trump, he stands at the plate, cracks it out of the park. So we might be having Pastor Mark Burns from South Carolina joining us momentarily here before we end this stream. Just to recap a little bit, today is an RSBN doubleheader. This stream will end soon, and then we will start the Pennsylvania stream back up. So you'll be able to watch that live coverage of Rally Day. That's with Paul Ingrassia and Nikki Stanzione. So Bobby, just a lot of people just watched that transpire there in Chicago. And again, not everybody in there was disrespectful. Again, Harris Faulkner, very respectful of the president, but others obviously weren't.
And I'm interested to see what will happen with some of the editorials that will come out, because there was clearly a mic issue that took place. It was hard for the president and Harris Faulkner to hear one another. We'll see if that turns into something like the president is allegedly losing his hearing. That sometimes you hear this in these editorials where they will write things that are just absolutely false. Of course, we'll see as that all develops. But one of the key things is, too, as we interview folks, we like to ask the questions and then have people answer, not interrupt the person being interviewed. And you saw that there with the journalist clearly interrupting President Trump as they were engaging in what became somewhat of a debate between what happened or did not happen on J6, and then President Trump highlighting, just look at a few days ago, of what happened when Bibi Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, visited Washington, D.C. You had an insurrection there of the red paint hitting the limestone, the spray paint, and he was saying, too, I know these things don't come out because I'm a builder. And they had put insects and different cockroaches into hotels around Union Station, taking down the American flag, burning it, and then putting the Palestinian flag up. Wasn't that an insurrection? What about all the people? How about Kamala Harris supporting the Minnesota Freedom Fund? I don't think anyone's been prosecuted for those insurrections in those cities. So an interesting conversation, which clearly became a debate. And some of these far lefters, they like to do that with these gotcha questions and really don't want to get into the meat and potatoes of the issues.
A great point there. And if you look at Journalism 101, we have no problem with holding a leader accountable, right? You know, it's part of the job is to ask questions to leaders. However, if your question is based in false narrative and lies and trying to sway the court of public opinion with optics and messaging from the left, which is exactly what we just saw there, you know, that's a false way of taking care of business. It's all about getting to the truth of the matter. And so if there was something to get to the truth of the matter, then you can ask a question. But when you ask it with such hate in your system, you know it, and then on top of it, it's a false narrative. So you got that combination, which is just terrible.
At the end of the day got to end.
Get your money up, not your funny up. Big fucking move.
That's it.